You can't be a respected pimp with past due bills. It don't work like that. Shame on you. Henry. So John Henry is the latest movie that's available on Netflix. It stars Terry Crews as the main character, and it's loosely based kinda in the same neighborhood as the folktale John Henry. It takes place in the present time California, and he plays a quiet guy with a violent past. He ends up helping some immigrants who are trying to get away from this violent gang leader slash pimp, and that's when their lives cross and the story semi begins. And I say semi begin because it's all over the place. I originally heard about this movie way back in 2019. There's actually supposed to be two of these types of movies being released on Netflix. One being Terry Crews's, and then the other one by The Rock. And after seeing this one, it shouldn't really be that hard to top, even if he doesn't release it. Like I said, this movie's pretty much all over the place. It opens up in this John Wick style fashion where his dog gets hit by this car. The gangster's the one driving the car. He gets out. They have a war of words. He picks up his dog and goes away. I guess they realized this angle had been taken by the John Wick franchise already because they went away from it and actually never really talked about it again the entire movie. Instead, they decide to give you feelings of a bad rendition of a Quentin Tarantino film. The conversations are unreasonably long, and there's random Western music being played out of nowhere. And on top of that, the rap music, the rap music. It's like the writer is a SoundCloud rapper, and he made this project just to force his mixtape onto us. If you can get Terry Crews, you can kind of get some rappers that are relevant, right? No YG, no Game, no Isaiah Rashad, no nothing. Aside from the glorious soundtrack, the first 15 minutes of the movie is very scattered and a lot happens. And after that, it's still scattered. From random arguments about white bats existing to everything in between, it feels like this movie really had a hard time finding a rhythm. It's definitely a Redbox movie all day. John Henry asks the girl's brother, who's staying at his house, if he knew about cars and can help him. They go out to his car. John Henry's under the hood. The guy's sitting in the passenger seat trying to crank it up. He's cranking it. Then John Henry goes, I got it. I know what's going on. And he fixes it. Bro, you just said you didn't understand what was going on with the car. Makes no sense. Another thing that really didn't work for this movie was the flashbacks. The movie goes back and forth, giving you glimpses of how John Henry's character was when he was younger, trying to give you insight as to why he is the way that he is today. And when they go to the flashbacks, it's really without cue. You have no warning, there's no timestamp or anything. They just go. The only time that you realize that it's a flashback is when they say his name. And then I'm like, oh, flashback. This movie is so backwards. How backwards is it? There's a guy in the movie that lives with John Henry's character. I think it's his uncle. He's in a wheelchair in the beginning of the movie. Towards the end of the movie, there's a shootout. He's standing on both his legs, shooting a gun. No lie, Terry Crews asks him, how can you stand? To which he replied, adrenaline. This movie is so backwards. How backwards is it? John Henry gets shot in the head, wakes up the next morning, getting chewed out by his CVS stalker chick, shaves, goes to see his grandma, and then heads off to see Ludacris. It's ludicrous. You can't make this stuff up. Speaking of Ludacris, Chris Bridges, boy, what are you doing? He once said in the Too Fast, Too Furious song, I just jumped in that movie to get a big ass check. We thought he was referring to the movie Too Fast, Too Furious. Little did we know he was foreshadowing to this one. He plays the villain in this movie. He has this metal chin, but in reality, it looks like he's wearing his braces on the outside of his mouth. He just looks ridiculous. He says little to nothing, and when the movie reaches its climax, we see a guy holding a fire canister versus a guy holding a hammer. And I am thoroughly embarrassed for him. All in all, I'd say this is a terrible movie. Mr. Cruz has no business being in a bad budget film like this, and I hope Rotten Tomatoes chews his arse up. If you like watching paint dry or reading the dictionary, then I think you'll like this movie. I'd say John Henry is a terrible waste of time, money, and good spirits. Shame on you, Terry Crews. Have you seen John Henry? I hope you haven't. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and attack the comments section. Peace.